Hello, and welcome back to the Mystery Theory. Today, I am covering a recent case that took place on May 1st, 2023. I'm in the barn, so you might hear some background noises. My clock, tick tock, tick tock, and Hope is taking a nap. You will also see the occasional fly because I left the door open for the kitty, and let's say that more than the kitty decided to get in. So I'm sorry for those of you who love flies. This one will be dying soon. If you're new and you don't understand why the soft spoken of this video, it's because it's a true crime ASMR video. And if you don't like it or you find it offensive, you just don't understand it, this is the time for you to exit this video. Now, I just came back from work and I've seen a couple of suggestions to cover this case. This is a recent case, so as it develops, new information will be revealed. But as of right now, this is all the information available and the internet to share with us. So, this is a case of a lie, and I wish I could say that that's one of the most horrible crimes I've covered, but it looked very insignificant compared to the kind of content and cases I've covered before. However, it doesn't make it better, and it kind of covers or involves a little bit more of opinion, I would say, about it. So I would love to know what you think about this case. What do you think it should be done? And if you ever heard about something like this before. So, we're gonna start our case in Pennsylvania, and it involves a college student. Her name is Chloe Stein, and she is about to graduate that first week of the month of May. Now, I feel like college students being adults have so much more sharing freedom. Like they could say they're going to school, they could say they're having good grades, but in the end, how much really parents can corroborate this information, it's a completely different story. I find myself very frustrated every time I figure money with my daughter's college office. They will tell you, and you'll see why I'm sharing this, but they will share some information with the parents, but they expect the students to deal with their finances, to deal with financial aid if they're getting any, to deal with scholarships and all the other things that really are important while you are studying, no matter if it is a community college, university. But I feel like there's enough freedom to continue with a lie for a long period of time. Because of that, you're an adult, you deal with your school, you deal with the finances, and you deal with your classes, finals, etc. In this case, Chloe, who was from Jeanette, Pennsylvania, was going through her last week of college, and her family was planning a big graduation party that following weekend. Now, she worked at Sonic Drive-In. I can totally relate. That was my first job, was Sonic. And I, just like Chloe, used to close. So I'm very familiar with the time that you kind of get done, what needs to happen, and the hour or around the time that you clock out. So it was easy to kind of get in my head when I heard about this case what those last hours or before clocking out, what they look like for Chloe. Now, she got off or clocked out, according to reports, at around 10 p.m., left the restaurant and gave a co-worker a ride back to this co-worker's place. Then she came back to either pick up or drop off something at Sonic again and left to go to her house at 10:35 p.m. Now, at around that time, she texts her boyfriend and she tells him that she just got pulled over by a police officer. This in a desolate area or stretch of road in the township. After that, she doesn't contact anybody else, including her parents or her boyfriend. I don't know if she actually told her mom she was staying with her boyfriend or if she told her boyfriend she was staying with her mom, but in the end, nobody realized she was gone that night. The next morning, her boyfriend is looking for her and finds her car on this stretch of road of the small town that where she called him from or texted him from. So he gets worried. He finds her cell phone, but her wallet was missing. She was missing. So he reports her as missing to the police. Police immediately, in this case, issued a missing endangered person advisory, and they started to search for her immediately. They look for her with a series of volunteers, dogs, helicopters, and really was a very instant kind of reaction from the authorities, which doesn't happen all the time with different cases. They spend the day looking for her. Then, at around 8 p.m., State Trooper Steve Limani received a tip. Those are my goats. They're rubbing against the barn. I'm so sorry. Now, this tip was that Chloe was safe at a local neighbor's home. Police immediately picked her up and took her to the station for questioning. She said, and this is very much all we know, that she kind of said that she was abducted, she was semi-abused, don't know what that means, and that she was released even though they had guns and they were scary, and so police knew she was lying and immediately realized that she actually abandoned her car about a mile from the Sonic where she worked at, and that she actually walked 3 miles to the home where she was later reported to be at. Why would she do that? Well, Chloe Stein, a 23-year-old college student, was hiding the fact that she dropped out of Penn State. It's a Penn State something. I'll put it on the screen. She actually had dropped out. She actually dropped out like a year and a half previous to this. So she's been hiding for the last year and a half the fact that she was no longer attending college, and of course she wasn't going to graduate. The idea that she had been abducted at gunpoint by a masked man and eventually released near her home did not make sense. Just why would they do that was the bigger question. And she eventually, after the authorities telling her there's no way this did not happen, it doesn't make any sense, when she finally confesses that she was lying. She was never abducted. And in her head, instead of telling her parents and her family that she dropped out of school and she wasn't graduating, she thought that this abduction would make more sense. Oh, no. Okay, you were abducted, you were released 20 hours later, and what is that? It's that like, okay, I'm not graduate. I'm sorry, it just doesn't make sense. Chloe Elizabeth Stein, who now is facing charges like, including false alarm to the Agency of Public Safety, false report, disorderly conduct, and obstruction of the administration of law and other government function. There's this relief, I guess, from the authorities clear in their faces when I listened to the interviews, that were happy to know, that we're happy to know she was safe. She is due back in court on May 25th for a preliminary hearing. Her lawyer has been speaking for her since then, assuming he has a strategy to try to help her. I don't know if she's gonna plead guilty or non-guilty. I don't know if he's going to try to approach from maybe she was having a psychotic episode or some kind of mental illness approach. I don't know if I don't know the legalities of all this, but it really made me think about, yes, I'm thankful she's okay, but how far would you go to hide a lie? And how does this make sense in order to avoid telling her family that she was not graduating? I think sometimes we feel pressure to look a certain way, physically or intellectually, following your path. You know, you go to high school, you graduate, you go to college, you graduate college, you get a job. But she felt the need to hide what she thought was embarrassing. What is more embarrassing than getting caught in this whole drama? What is more embarrassing than having to go to court for faking your own kidnapping? And I'm not saying this in a way to, make her feel bad about what she did. I'm sure she now regrets what she did. But it breaks my heart to think that she just didn't feel comfortable enough to tell her parents the truth, to tell her mom the truth. And I'm assuming now she acted alone, but we don't know if she really told her boyfriend, if she didn't, what the end goal was with this. How did she think this was going to help her with a bigger lie? And how many more lies do we need to tell in order to cover the one? Have you ever felt that way? Not faking your own kidnapping, of course, but have you ever felt like, I need to lie to cover up this big lie? What is the extent that you would go as far as lying to cover a lie? think that in this case, my predictions is that she will have to pay for, which they're coming up with a number of how much money they spent looking for her in those 20 hours, and that she'll have to pay for that. But I don't think there will be any kind of jail time for this girl. But again, trying to hide a bigger lie, she ended up ruining things for herself. I always tell my kids, I can't remember the exact words in English, but it's something like, it's better to have an uncomfortable moment than, it's better to just tell the truth and be uncomfortable with the situation that moment, instead of just continuously lie, because you're dragging it out. I feel like people sometimes can't really come to the conclusion that it is what it is. In hiding it, you're only stretching this horrible moment, and you're living yourself in a big lie that is never going to go away. And I can understand why she felt like she had to hide it. What I cannot understand is how she thought this was going to help her cover that lie. How she thought she was going to not deal with the truth. I think she's a young girl who made a big mistake, that she'll have to pay the price for what she did. But I don't think she meant to make it into what it was, and that's why she came out from hiding 20 hours later. Maybe somebody saw her and that's why it was a report. Who knows, really? Because police, since this is an active investigation and case, are not revealing all the details, but all I'm gonna say is I don't think she planned this. I don't think she knew exactly what the goal was. I don't think she knew how this was gonna benefit her. And I think she made the wrong choice. She didn't think things through. And I'm sure in her head, things were not going to be as big as this got. Because we know of cases like Gavi Petito and, this other popular cases that are really, they take off from day one. But we also know other cases where really it's not, it takes a while for authorities to start looking for adults. And maybe that's what she thought. I'm not excusing her behavior. I don't think what she did is right. I think she should pay the consequences of all this. But I also think that clearly she didn't plan things right. In the end, I feel like it was a desperate attempt to hide the bigger lie that she shouldn't have hidden in the first place. So anyways, thank you for being here today, guys. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. If you're still here, don't forget to leave a comment. I'll talk to you guys, and I'll talk to you guys next time.